Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Spencer. I'm a Senior Director of Program Management for Microsoft Copilot Extensibility. Thank you for joining. Today, we're going to talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot and specifically about Copilot agents. Agents are AI-powered assistants designed to help you get work done. I want to show you how easy it is to create a variety of agents. My goal is to make you a hero in your organization by improving your own productivity and perhaps the productivity of others with a custom Copilot agent. This slide shows the relationship between four things I'll talk about. And because so much in AI is new and fast moving, it's hard to get some of the jargon down. So I'm going to try to be specific. Occasionally, I may make mistakes referring to Copilot when I mean Copilot chat, etc. But I'll try to keep it clear. So there's four things. There's Copilot, Copilot Studio, Copilot Control System, and agents. Copilot is the user interface for AI in Microsoft 365. An agent makes Copilot more capable and more personal to your work. I think of agents as a set of instructions, similar to, say, a spreadsheet that you can use and customize for a particular task. And just like a spreadsheet, after customizing an agent, you can share it with colleagues to help them save time. Copilot Studio is a companion product to Copilot, and it makes creating agents as easy as customizing a spreadsheet and just as safe. The Copilot control system underlying all of these makes sure your agent automatically meets necessary legal, compliance, and organizational requirements. So Copilot uniquely offers enterprise data protection, ensuring your data is managed according to your organization's standards and policies. And that combination of power and safety is why 70% of the Fortune 500 are already using Microsoft 365 Copilot. The best part of my job is helping customers apply AI to their real-world business problems. Copilot makes their job more enjoyable, and it's great for their career to be using the latest technology. Here are results from customers benefiting from Copilot in their organizations. At Lumen, where their sales force has adopted Copilot, they report saving on average 10 hours per user per week. And at both Honeywell and Vodafone, employees using Copilot estimate saving on average 3 hours per week. So there's some real benefits to taking advantage of artificial intelligence. In January 2025, we announced Copilot Chat. It is the free version of Copilot that otherwise costs $30 per user per month in the United States. Just like the for-fee version of Copilot, Copilot Chat supports apps and agents, so you can incorporate your work data from email, files, Teams conversations, and even third-party databases as context in the responses from your agent. Many customers ask Microsoft to offer this for free tier with the pay-as-you-go version of Copilot agents so that customers could deploy a version of Copilot to more of their users. This free version helps counter shadow IT adoption of consumer AI tools. Now, many of those AI tools, unfortunately, risk enterprise intellectual property and confidentiality. Free Copilot Chat that includes enterprise data protection is an option worth considering for many information workers that are already using Microsoft 365. And Copilot Chat can be accessed in the Microsoft 365 app, in Microsoft Teams, and in Microsoft Outlook, on the web, on the desktop, and in mobile. Copilot Chat combines three valuable capabilities in a single offering. First is access to AI, powered by GPT-4o. By default, it's informed or grounded with the vast data indexed on the web. Second are agents integrated into chat that can be grounded on your work data and paid for on a metered or consumption pay-as-you-go basis. So you don't need a full subscription to Copilot to have responses informed by your work context. And this is important because every organization has discussions in Outlook or Teams that's full of jargon and also rich with the kind of content that artificial intelligence is uniquely capable of summarizing and of presenting in a compelling format. In the absence of this context, any AI will give insufficient or incorrect answers. The more context, the better the results. But there's a real cost to the indexing of all that information. And then the third component is admin controls for IT to implement Copilot's enterprise data protection and AI management. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to enter those into the chat. I have colleagues who are monitoring the chat, and I'll be answering questions at the end of this presentation as well. Copilot Chat can help every employee by streamlining universal tasks, but it's even more helpful with additional context, and that context can be packaged together in the form of instructions for an agent to apply to specific business processes. It's easy to get started building agents using Copilot Studio. Today, we're going to talk about two specific agents for the roles of project management in an IT org and for the role of a research assistant in an R&D org. At the end of this presentation, if we have time, I'll show the sample instructions for additional agents such as customer service, marketing, and hiring manager. We'll show how Copilot can be tailored to address unique needs of different professional roles. A team of engineers at Microsoft created these sample instructions by working with various customers adopting Copilot. So while the instructions are generic, they're a great place to start because they're based on real-world agents. My goal here is to dispel any notion that agents are complicated or risky and to help you get started. And I got a couple of reminders here that there is what I'm sharing are sample instructions, and they are not of and by themselves supported Microsoft products. However, of course, Copilot Chat, Copilot Studio, and Copilot itself are fully supported Microsoft products. Microsoft envisions every employee having a Copilot agent to help them excel in their jobs, just like every employee has a smartphone. With an agent, Copilot becomes your personal AI assistant. It understands you and your work context. If you ask a friend how to do something on your smartphone, they will often answer, "There's an app for that." Soon, Copilot users will be telling colleagues, "There's an agent for that," when it comes to various tasks within their organization. Agents focus Copilot by adding specific skills and knowledge. My estimate is that if you're a typical information worker, likely 20 to 30% of your job can be improved with a Copilot agent. And for a lot of the other 70%, you can use the free or for-fee version of Copilot just as it is to help get things done. Microsoft is also working on a set of out-of-the-box agents. So as of now, in March of 2025, the agents in SharePoint is generally available, and then the 4 other agents listed on this slide are either in public or private preview and are coming later this calendar year. Microsoft offers a spectrum of tools for creating these agents. The easiest are referred to as no-code tools, and that's the agent builder feature in Copilot Studio, and that's what we'll be using today. There are more advanced capabilities in Copilot Studio for those with programming skills, and in Azure OpenAI, there are the most advanced professional or pro code options. My goal is to help a citizen developer create their first Copilot agent to use in their particular job. Now, the first agent we're going to talk about is a project management assistant. This one helps product development projects in an in an IT department. For each of the agents, I have a few slides with examples of the prompts you can ask that agent, and we'll see how Copilot will respond. All of these I will be showing in the live code as well during the demo. After those slides, I have the instructions for those agents using natural language to create the agent in Copilot Studio. So we're beginning here in Copilot Chat, and I have clicked on the project assistant agent that's in the right rail. So I'm conversing with that agent. And you'll notice that we have in the center of the slide, in the center of this view, 6 pre-programmed prompts. These suggested prompts offer a single-click way to start a conversation with the agent. A first example is an employee new to the project team asking the agent for help understanding the project management framework guiding this project. To make the prompt more legible on this slide, I popped it out in that blue box at the top of the page because it's hard sometimes to read the prompt box at the bottom of the page during a demo. So that blue box at the top is just for this slide. What I really appreciate about Copilot is no one sees what questions you ask. So I can ask questions that may, well, appear stupid to a colleague. Almost every day I ask Copilot about 3-letter acronyms that seem to multiply around Microsoft like rabbits. Agents are a great way to help onboard new employees. So think about that scenario as you create an agent. So the prompt reads, what model is followed with the project and what are the Scrum activities? Copilot then goes and searches for the information, and this is the kind of information that would be typically stored in a SharePoint repository. The project assistant agent responds with details about the agile methodology in use and the cadence of meetings. This is an example of why grounding on context from SharePoint and Outlook data is so helpful. Our second example is when a project leader or potentially someone in the management chain asks this project assistant to analyze expenses. And in this case, they're attaching a spreadsheet to the Copilot agent. The agent then analyzes the Excel file for budgeted versus actual spending and comes back with specific recommendations on cost optimization. So you'll see with relatively simple instructions, you can focus Copilot on your specific roles. For all the agents I'm going to talk about today, this slide provides helpful context that you may want to grab a screenshot. So it has links to where to learn about Copilot Studio. And I want to emphasize that although Copilot Studio is free, it requires a license. So all the agent building capabilities I'll show today are at no additional charge. And I'll have a quick slide after this demo with the Copilot licensing details. So if you don't have Copilot or Copilot Studio, talk to your IT department. Every Copilot user authoring agents must have a Copilot license, and this gives IT some control over who can create agents. On the next 2 slides, you'll see the set of instructions that I'll be cutting and pasting into Copilot Studio in order to build this agent. And there are 2 steps to building an agent. The first is the description step, and that's what's summarized on this slide. And the second is the configuration step. And you will see all of this as we go into the demo. Now, also on this slide, in the table at the bottom, is an example of what we call prompt engineering. We want to come up with a set of prompts that are going to help a new user learn what the agent can do. And we also might want to have a set of prompts for an experienced user of the agent so they can quickly get to exactly what they want this agent to do. So think about prompts in both contexts. Let's go to the demo to see how these behave in Copilot Studio. All right, we are in my Microsoft 365 tenant in the browser. You'll notice on the left rail, Copilot is listed. So this navigation rail is consistent between different parts of Microsoft 365. Here within Copilot, that same left rail, we have the work and the web modes. And you'll notice that these set of suggested prompts switch if I go between work and web. I'm going to stay in work because that is where I'm building this Copilot agent. The ability to start a new chat or refresh the chat window. Enterprise data protection is on. And there's a few other things along the top here. Below the suggested prompts is the prompt box where most of the action will happen in this demonstration. And then on the right rail, I have a list of agents or coaches. Some of these are created within my organization. Some of them have been created by Microsoft. Clicking on See More, I can see Jira Cloud, for example, is something this tenant subscribes to. So we have Jira. I can make that a favorite by pinning it above the fold and scrolling down, and this may be below the fold in your environment. I have Get Agents, which is for finding additional agents provisioned by IT, and I have Create an Agent. And this link brings us into Copilot Studio, and it's where I'm going to create this new project management assistant agent. So switching back over to my PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to grab the description, cut and paste into Copilot Studio. So here within the Agent Builder feature of Copilot Studio, I've put in this description that it is an AI-powered assistant designed to streamline IT projects. Now, you may want to change this to the type of project management in your work. That could be a marketing project, or it could be a construction or design project. It's going to assist with internal project queries by retrieving information from SharePoint. So I'll be doing that configuring in a minute. Notice there's the describe and configure modes, but I'm going to enter this prompt to create this agent, at least to begin the process of creating the project assistant agent. So it asks for a name, and I'm going to suggest that you use the word test when you have others test, and I'm adding my initials so that if there's several people on the project team creating agents, we can all compare them, and we're not going to call them all the same thing. So now it's saying the name has been set. Let's define what the agent should do. I'm grabbing this set of instructions for the agent, and you'll notice that there are section headings that separate different aspects of this agent instructions. So it repeats that description I gave above. There is a scope and knowledge sources section, and it talks about finding information from SharePoint, how to handle out of scope queries, and what types of projects we're talking about. So in this case, we have project frameworks that cover Agile, Waterfall, Scrum, Kanban, etc. Risk and issues management, and we'll give an example of that when it comes to budget, stakeholder communications, project metrics and reporting. The tone is recommended to be bullet points and lists for clarity. Now, if I was creating an HR agent, I may want to have a different tone. If I was doing something on the legal front, I may want to have a more verbose response that really covered and detailed particular legal documents. But in this case, bullet points responses are unbiased and based on established project management practices. Okay, entering that set of additional instructions, Copilot will then refine the agent, and I can go into the configuration section. Great. So switching to configure, I could change The icon, the name, the description are repeated from the first section, getting to this important aspect of configuration, which is knowledge. Now, if I had a SharePoint repository with the relevant documents for our project management methodology, I could enter that here. I could turn on web search. In this case, I'm not going to have web search on because I really want to focus on internal information, information that is stored in our Azure DevOps Wiki, for example, and in our enterprise websites. So I'm going to enable those. And this is very important to get the right kind of results. If information was in Jira, I might turn that on, or Salesforce or ServiceNow. And going down further, if I had code interpreter, I might use that. I am going to turn on the image generator, and I'm going to review these default prompts. And I have to say these prompts look just fine. So I'm going to leave those as is. You'll notice that my results are automatically saved, and I'm going to hit create. Copilot is thinking about it. All right. So there's a few things. This link only works for me. I can change those settings if I want to share this link more broadly. I can share that with anyone in my organization or specific users. I'm going to hit cancel because I want to test this first before I share it more broadly. Coming back into Copilot, I'm going to click on the agent that I am testing, the project assistant agent. You'll notice that it is now in the title, replacing the generic Copilot. You'll notice that the prompts have changed to those that we suggested in the agent. And now I'm going to try a few prompts. Switching over to PowerPoint, I'm going to capture the prompt. And what model do we follow in this project? And what are the activities? And you'll notice that it gives me an overview of the Scrum framework, which is a popular Agile methodology that we use, and that the sprints typically last 2 to 4 weeks. And here are the Scrum activities. You'll see the cadence is specific to my organization. I can also ask additional questions that use more of Copilot's analytical skills. And I'm going to add my analysis of budget versus actuals on this project. And Copilot comes back with this analysis of the comparison. And I'm going to ask, please put analysis table. And it produces this table that I can cut and paste directly into a presentation. And I can copy and paste these cost optimizations suggestions as well. So a very useful agent. Now, after doing sufficient testing, I feel it is ready to take the next step. I'm going to pin it here, and I'm going to go back into Copilot Studio, selecting this drop-down box to edit a particular agent. I can now remove that this is a test project assistant and remove my initials. I'm going to click Update. And now coming back into Copilot, you can see that the name has been changed to Project Assistant. Now, as a user, I can choose not only to unpin that, removing it from my favorites, I can also uninstall it so that I don't have it here in my interface. But since I'm the author of it, I can still go back into Copilot Studio and modify the settings. All right, welcome back. So our second example is the Research Assistant Agent. This is for an R&D scenario. So the agent will streamline the research process using the organization's specific research data. It can also go outside the organization and pull information from university and other government-funded research that's publicly available on the internet. But the power of Copilot is that the two can be combined to help you with specific R&D tasks. In this scenario, we are a research analyst working for an automotive company. The first prompt, the user asks the agent about the performance of the company's electric vehicles. It's very specific to the company's research. Provide a summary of the performance of electric vehicle prototypes tested over the past 6 months. The agent responds with detailed and relevant answers. Note the responses include links and citations to specific files, so the research analyst can easily review those for additional details. Now, this kind of agent could be used broadly within an organization, from an R&D engineer up to top management. The second prompt is looking both within and outside the organization with a very open-ended prompt. And this is what I love about Copilot. You can ask it things like, suggest new directions for us to improve efficiency. And Copilot will go out and find all the relevant information indexed from the web and combine that with your internal data sources to answer this specific question. So just as in the last example, here are the instructions for this agent. And we'll have the description step. So I will read these in detail during the demo. They're pretty lengthy and detailed, so it's helpful to see them on the screen in Copilot Studio. And then here's the configuration. And in this case, we've included prompts that you can use to test out various aspects of the agent. Okay, so let's go to the demo, loading that now, and I will hit play. Okay, let's go to our second agent. This one is our R&D assistant, and I'm going to navigate back into Copilot Studio, copy and paste the description from PowerPoint. Enter that into the prompt box. You are a research assistant, primarily focused on providing accurate and contextual answers about research and development based on SharePoint knowledge sources. Your main goal is to enhance the efficiency of automotive researchers. Of course, you could change this to any kind of researchers or engineers. And you'd like to change this area too, if you'd like to customize it for your industry, automotive research databases, or contact the R&D support team. Entering that prompt, Copilot Studio is thinking about it. In terms of a name, I'm going to suggest test research assistant. I'll add my initials. I need to keep that under 30 characters. All right, let me refine the instructions. I'm going to grab this set of information with the section headings. It repeats the same information, adds tone and style. Professional yet approachable, use simple language for clarity and include tables for complex topics. Further refinement, recommend next steps, and it gives an example of a query. And we'll, in best practices, we'll talk about giving examples as a tip to improve the results of your agents. Entering that, we will finish the description mode and switch over to the configure mode. All right. So here I see the name, the description, all that's fine with the additional instructions I provided. Knowledge, this is important. So I want to make sure to include our internal databases. So I'm going to drill into select the automotive share. And I'm also going to turn on web search because I want to be able to access academic and other government-funded research available on the internet. I am going to pass on DevOps, Wiki, and work items and skip Confluence, but I do want to include our enterprise websites as well, because you'll see I've got a specific query, and then I've got a broad prompt that I'd like to make sure to get answered. I think turning on image generator is a good best practice. These prompts look fine. I don't need to change those. So I'm going to click on create in the upper right corner and create our second agent. As before, if I want to share, I can copy this link and share it with colleagues. I can change these settings to specify others in the organization. At this point, I'm still in my own testing mode, so I'm going to keep it only for me. Going to Copilot Chat, I'm going to pin my test research assistant, clicking on it in the right rail. I'm now going to interact with that, putting in a couple prompts from my PowerPoint presentation. The first one is clearly internal, summarize the performance of our electric vehicle prototypes during long-distance tests over the past 6 months. Clicking on the paper airplane icon to submit that prompt. The agent responds with this summary of prototype A, prototype B, prototype C, with fine details on each of them. And it gives the relevant links so I can find that set of documents. So I'm asking it to create a chart to summarize the range and maximum speed of the 3 prototypes. And you can see it is opening up Designer, which is in preview. So some of the charts have been very creative in their color and design. I'm sure those kinks will get worked out as we move from preview into production. But let's see what Designer comes back with. So I can choose one of these charts if they meet my needs. Now I'm going to put in another prompt. So the second prompt for the research assistant agent is more open-ended. Can you suggest new research directions to improve the efficiency of our vehicles? And this shows the power of Copilot using agents because it provides this summary of the internal research insights with the various citations, as well as the external research insights. And you can see the various research organizations that it is pulling from. So it's pulling from at least 4 different of those. Copilot to offer the free web grounding for all users. And then for those users with this agent on a metered basis, they can have access to the grounding on internal research as well and combine that in this one response. So looking at the life cycle of an agent, I can, as I did previously, go back into Copilot Studio, click on my test agent and remove its test status. I can share with specific users in the organization. I can choose to share this, for example, with Stuart and with Breda. You'll notice that Copilot also shares the knowledge sources with them so that their agent works appropriately. So now, on a metered basis, they have access to that same internal grounding that I talked about earlier. I'll update my shared settings. Let's go to the agent. I can pin my research assistant agent, so I have both of them. If I go through a reorganization and move out of research, I can uninstall that agent. So the user still has control. And because I am the author of that agent, the right people inside IT with correct admin privileges can also do this. I can delete in the fullness of time if a better agent has come along, or for some reason I want to stop using this agent, I can delete that. And you'll notice it says this agent will be permanently deleted. So there's a lot of capabilities with Copilot Chat and Copilot Studio, where citizen developers can create agents to help them get their job done, can refine them, test them, share them with others, and manage that life cycle over time, and the safety, security, manageability that you'd expect from Microsoft 365. Let's switch back to PowerPoint to wrap up the presentation. Okay, so back in PowerPoint. Again, what I shared today are sample instructions. The instructions of and by themselves are not supported Microsoft products. Here's some top things to consider. Look at your prompts. You want to start with some strong ones in order to get people unfamiliar with the agent going, but refine them over time. Copilot does a pretty good job suggesting the obvious prompts, but invest in prompt engineering to help users get started and to expose advanced capabilities. If you find a really compelling use case as you get to know and use the agent, you might want to consider adding that as a prompt. Also, look at the tone of the responses. Make sure that the tone you choose makes sense for all the scenarios. An HR agent may have a different tone than a legal agent, which probably needs to stick to the letter of the law. Try different knowledge sources, and that will give you different responses. Deep web knowledge is available at the free tier of Copilot Chat, and you may want to enable web content because they may enhance the results from your internal only data. Be specific about the areas and topics that you want each agent to cover. You'll notice as I went through those instructions that there are terms that could mean very different things in different contexts. So we talk about project management and we talk about waterfalls in the context of that, which is very different than it might be in other contexts. So that's why it's so important to have specificity about what role you would like this agent to play. Also think about simple agents at first. You could create an agent that could tackle a significant automation, but it's better to take multi-step workflows and break them into individual agents. It's easier to test and validate those and then potentially combine over time. Use clear syntax, including headings, section separators, and punctuations, just as we did in our example. This avoids ambiguity in the instructions. And if you're getting poor results, first take a look at your instructions and make sure they're crystal clear and use examples where possible. Second, look at your knowledge sources, and that's the context that's going to drive the quality of your responses. The prompt box in Copilot is like the search box on Google or Bing, because behind it lies tremendous capabilities. And this slide summarizes some of that architecture and complexity. But in the interest of time for Q&A, we've got quite a few questions. I'm going to move right along so we can get right into answering the questions you've already asked. So the great thing about Copilot and Copilot Chat is the option for broad accessibility within your organization. There's the free level, and then there is the subscription level of Copilot. And between those two is a pay-as-you-go or metered model for the agents that bring some of the best parts of the for-fee Copilot into the free Copilot chat tier. Anyone with a Copilot Studio license can create an agent for free, but those agents will consume message resources, and those have a cost. And as you can see here, the cost is $200 per month for 25,000 messages. And a single agent instance can consume more than one message. So roughly this translates to 1,000 uses of an agent for $200 a month. I encourage organizations to try a limited pilot of an agent to see how the costs run. In many cases, I think you'll see the return on investment justifies the use of agents on top of the free Copilot chat. And there's also the ability to pay for these agents on a per message basis using your existing Microsoft Azure credits. So your organization may already have funding in place for you to start that kind of pilot I just described. This slide goes into greater details on the feature differences between for-fee Copilot, which is in the right column, and those dots, versus the free version of Copilot, which is on the left. So Copilot Chat is on the left, Copilot full subscription is on the right, and those red triangles are the metered basis of costs associated with particular agents. And you'll notice that the biggest difference between Copilot Chat and full Copilot is in the personal assistant area. That's the third section down from the top, and also in the grounding of information using your work data, as we've discussed. Now, for IT managers who are hesitant to make Copilot Chat broadly available in their organization, I share this data because we were surprised when we saw this based on interviews with Microsoft 365 users worldwide. And what we're seeing is there's already significant adoption of AI using shadow IT. And in most cases, this does not include enterprise data protection. So there's significant risk to waiting on evaluating something like Copilot Chat that has the kind of protection your users need in order to get full advantage from the latest technology. So what are your next steps? Well, I hope you can see it is easy and safe to create these agents, to experiment, to improve them, and potentially share them with others in the organization. Here are additional resources for learning more about Copilot and Copilot Studio. You might want to take a screenshot of this so that you can follow up on these specific URLs. There are tremendous resources available to learn how to use everything I've showed you today. I want to thank the team of engineers who created these instructions that I've shared with you, and I've got a few more that I'm going to share after Q&A. Now, Eunice and Dave might come off mute and help me answer some of the questions.
So there's a comment about if you create an agent in m365.cloud.microsoft.com, it doesn't show up in copilotstudio.microsoft.com. Is there a way to connect those? Not yet, is the short answer. Our goal is to have these different platforms come together and to have a lot more sharing across them. One thing you can do when you create an agent and you publish it and you have a zip, you can go from a low code mode to a pro code mode. You can open that up in Visual Studio Code and do some editing there. So you do have options that would be available to you if you wanted to go from low code to pro code. Going the other way from pro dev types of solutions and other types of agent builders and going back into Copilot Studio, you would have to copy paste out of the manifest into the agent, into the fields that were shown earlier on screen in Copilot Studio. So there's not a direct way yet. And there's a repost of a question. Anna's asked, is there a direct connect in Copilot Search to ADO versus just Jira?
Well, yeah, we could have actually. In fact, I think one of those examples might have been ADO in terms of the DevOps data sources, but there is a connector available for ADO, and you could do that in the configuration step, as I was showing, as I think I passed over Jira and ServiceNow and Salesforce, which were implemented in this particular tenant. But that
Yeah,
is
so
an option.
that's exactly right. Yeah, you would connect just where we showed, like if you have a Jira connector, Confluence connector, you can have an ADO connector, and that connector will let you then tap into your ADO sources. There are many connectors, and we continue to grow that library of connectors.
Yeah, it's roughly over 100, right? Do you have a
That's
recent
right.
number on that?
Yeah, and continuing to grow rapidly. Yes.
I mean, this is such a fast-growing space. It's so interesting that so much happening with partners and with Microsoft's own technology to improve how Copilot can be used across your organization and across an ecosystem of Microsoft and third-party applications. Anything else, Eunice or Dave?
I'm glancing through really quick. Those are the primary
Oh, those
themes.
are great questions. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to do the questions. And we do have Espy and George presenting this webinar in Spanish and Portuguese coming up. So look for those. I really want to thank everyone for their kind attention. We're looking forward to seeing what you create. So please share back insights and suggestions you have with your Microsoft account team. They'll bring it to the engineers working on Copilot, Copilot Studio, Copilot Chat in order to improve those products and to make these the best way to get your work done and to help you on your Copilot career. Now, for those who have the time, I'm going to go through some additional slides of additional instructions, sample instructions for scenarios. All of them can be customized for your organization. So here's the description for that assistant and the configuration instructions with sample prompts. Here's the marketing agent for a marketing research scenario. The description and the configuration. And finally, here's our hiring manager assistant. There's the description and the configuration. So that is our final one. Thank you all very much.